What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Truth and Transparency. Karen Reed against the world, or so it seems, civil lawsuit um, yesterday evening.
Ben, good afternoon. This comes one day after several of these witnesses said that they plan to sue Karen Reed for defamation. Now, Reed has filed a lawsuit of her own against Brian and Nicole Albert, Jen and Matt McCabe, and Brian Higgins. They were all at 34 Fairview Road the night John O'Keefe died. Also named in Reed's new lawsuit, former Trooper Michael Proctor, Sergeant Yuri Buchanan, and Lieutenant Brian Tully. They investigated the criminal case. That case ended with Reed being found not guilty of O'Keefe's death. The lawsuit accuses the defendants of emotional distress, malicious prosecution, and civil rights violations. The lawsuit claims that for Reed, quote, the years of uncertainty and unimaginable distress have left lasting scars that will never heal. At the same time, neither Mr. O'Keefe nor his family has received justice. His killer or killers still walk free. In a statement, the lawyers for the witnesses deny Reed's accusations, calling them, quote, nothing more than a continuation of a baseless conspiracy narrative. Live in Canton, David Beedick, WCV.
All right, so that's where I'm going to leave off really quick. You guys, this is obviously so different than a criminal case. And I want to start by saying I'm of the opinion that I have no idea how the McCabe's, the Alberts, all the citizens here, McCabe's, Alberts, and Higgins, dude, this civil suit would bring out so much discovery that it's like, do you want to go to prison? Does somebody want to go to prison? Do all of you guys want to go to prison? The discovery that would be available here if they answer this complaint, you're setting yourself up for to be criminally indicted. That's how I look at it. I'm like, geez, because I believe that there's going to be stuff on people's phones, people's clouds. Whoa. I don't know what type of services that they were getting, like AT&T, Verizon. I mean, it's only been how many years? I mean, John O'Keefe was killed when? It's only 2025. All these companies keep their records for a really long time. I don't care if you don't have your phone anymore. There's other ways to get information. So, wow. Well, Karen Reed and Turtle Boy fucking hate each other. That's another breaking point here. Turtle Boy, Karen Reed, what is going on? Wow. I just thought that they would just keep it all silent. Nope, it's coming out. They fucking hate each other. They haven't been talking. They haven't been talking for a long time. Wow. We kind of saw that. It's like I kept on saying, hey, I'm going to do a Karen Reed, live. And, but there was things I wanted to keep separated from it. I'm not going to talk like, hey, to each their own, but I will just tell you this. There is no way in hell that I have and go against if I'm a journalist like I am, an investigative one. I'm not. That's my source. Karen Reed was Turtle Boy's source. Yeah. I don't know. Okay. What it's done is it's completely divided a community. You have all these free Karen Reed supporters, right? Because Karen Reed was 100% innocent, framed, all these things. It's obvious, right? The facts are the facts. Well, now it's like, how the fuck did Karen Reed do this shit to Turtle Boy? Blah, blah. And then you have the Turtle Boy people that are like, fuck Karen Reed. I'm like, you guys are all hypocrites. If that's really what you're saying and thinking, then I'm at a loss. Because this is all about fighting corruption. Okay. I believe that the government conspired to take down Turtle Boy. I believe that citizens and the government conspired to take down Karen Reed, and we should all be against that. And how this plot has over in left field, actually right field, picking daisies, I have no idea. Nor do I give a flying fuck. It's not my issue. But I hate corruption. I hate people in power lying. People trying to take people's freedom. I mean, this is not like I'm trying to win a first place trophy. This is we're talking about our freedom. Trying to put people away in prison. Okay, so whoo. But it's just, yeah. Let's just jump into this. Let's just jump into this. This was filed yesterday, November 17th. People want to say she filed it because there was wind that they were going to sue her. You guys, the McCabe's weren't suing anybody. Higgins ain't suing anybody. You want to know how I know that? Because of the word discovery. In a civil suit, they're going to be able to get their hands on so much shit. Stuff that you could not get your hands on for the criminal case. It is totally not the same in this civil case. For 3.5 years, plaintiff Karen Read was wrongfully accused of homicide and subject to suspicion, arrest, 2 prosecutions, and public condemnation, all resulting from the gross misconduct of the Massachusetts State Police and those working in tandem with the Massachusetts State Police to shield from liability the party or parties responsible for the death of Boston police officer John O'Keefe. This is not just a I want money type of a suit here. Karen Read wants these people indicted. She wants them to go down for murder. She wants them to go down criminally. It would take you to read this 46 pages one time to realize that. And that's why what I'm saying is I can't believe if I'm the McCabe's, the Alberts, or the Higgins of the world with this, I'm not responding. I'm defaulting. I'm defaulting. No ifs, ands, buts about it. Also, they're all going to have separate attorneys. Okay? They're not going to be rolling with the same attorney. They all have different interests. They all have, like, for example, Brian Albert's wife, Nicole. Nicole didn't kill nobody. Okay? Her interest is completely different. Do I think that Jennifer McCabe killed anybody? Nope. So you everybody has different, like, and it's going to implicate you. All of this stuff that would come out that's hidden right now, it would be called evidence in a murder trial that you could use. There's going to be a new DA coming to Norfolk County here. So I'm just like, Karen Read this is not just about money. I don't see Karen Read settling. Unless her lawyers were like, listen, they're going to give you, we're talking sick money. Okay. But I think you're going to get sick money. You don't need to settle. And what that means is all of this discovery that would come out, it would show that they committed murder. I just found out reading from this. You guys know all the swipe cards with the key entry? The FBI got that. I always thought that the defense team asked for that in discovery. Okay? I didn't realize that they only got that because of the Fed investigation. So there's a lot of things that I found out because of this that I did not know. And trust me, I'm in the know here, and I was paying attention to the different details. And so those are the things that I want to point out. I'm not going to sit here and read 46 pages. I'm going to read the most important things. But Karen Read wants these people arrested. She wants them to go to prison. That's what this is also she's trying to merge the two. And I think she's a really good chance of actually having that happen. I didn't think that when I heard the judge back, whenever that last hearing was, which she has a hearing coming this Friday. But this is Karen Read's defense to the wrongful death suit. This is right here. This is Karen Read's defense to that wrongful death suit. This is how she would defend herself with that. Karen Read has been waiting to talk. Karen Read has been waiting to talk, tell her side of the story. People can say, oh, she's done interviews, blah, blah, blah. No, nothing like this. Okay. Karen Read finally doesn't have the monkey on her back. She can never be tried again. Even let's say that Karen Read killed John O'Keefe. She will never go to prison for that. Never, ever, 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 ever. She could come right out now and say that she killed John O'Keefe. Yep, I fucking ran over that bastard and I tricked all you motherfuckers. Woo. Do I think that happened? Absolutely not. So she has this monkey off of her back. Everybody else out there that's in this lawsuit, hell no. Like, this is the least of your problems. And so I'm just like, wow, how do they respond to this? You can't respond to this. You can't let your phone, the McAlberts of the worlds and the Higgins of the worlds, you can't let your locations be known where you were, what you were doing. And all of that can still be found. Just because you don't even have your phone anymore, there's the cloud. Also, there's other people's phones that you were talking to that they could potentially get information from going to other people's phones. Okay. Now, depending on what the feds did and what was eventually turned over, but then Bev's over here like, no, you're not going to use that. But now can you use it in a civil case? I don't know what they're sitting on, but I can tell you who they're going to be going after hardcore, because I think that they think that this person has a lot, is Michael Proctor's sister. Michael Proctor's sister was facilitating things. That's who Michael Proctor was talking to. Michael Proctor just got the biggest bombshell of his life when he realized that, oh my God, all of my messages weren't being auto-deleted. Holy shit. Oh my God. I mean, I am here for it. I hope to God that Karen Read doesn't take a plea deal, or not a plea deal, but doesn't take any type of settlement. And I hope she goes all the way. But I just don't see them responding to this, because in being a part of this, I think that they would just rather default and let it go to a default judgment. Then what happens? So what I mean by that is, what if they just didn't answer this complaint? Would you want to go to prison? Hey, go ahead, take all the money. I don't even have any money anymore. You know, I would love you, dude. All their financials get to come out in this, like just everything that you could ever imagine gets to come out in this. We'd be able to see how they were moving money for the past, ever since John's murder, how money was being moved around. You get to see all that. I mean, you name it. Now, you're going to be able to depose all these people. I mean, my head just spins with all the stuff that you could do. The sidebars today are going to be released now. Beverly just made her little order about that. I love how this lawsuit is so well written. He refers to Jennifer McCabe and her cronies as the House defendants. I love that term now. Like, holy shit. I think that there's a bunch of strategy here on why certain people were not also sued. I think Carrie Roberts, holy shit, Carrie Roberts, what's in store for you if this goes all the way to the dance? Oh my God, girl. You better be getting on all fours for Karen Read. Carrie Roberts is literally going to have so much shit. And Carrie Roberts is going to have to make the decision. And I think that Carrie Roberts is going to make the right decision. Carrie Roberts is just, I was lied to. That's her. I was lied to. And I came clean. You know, I think she's going to have, Carrie Roberts is, when people are like, why isn't Carrie Roberts getting sued? Well, all that shit's going to come out. You know, fuck Carrie Roberts. What does Carrie Roberts have? Carrie Roberts didn't kill anybody. Okay. But she did lie to the grand jury to indict Karen Read. You don't think that Karen Read knows that? But Karen Read and her attorneys are smarter. Okay. Smarter. You're going to use Carrie Roberts like a little puppet. It's going to be great. People saying, okay, Colin Albert, you didn't read this then. Colin Albert's on the back end here. All it takes is one little wiggle domino, and it all goes. Okay, so let's first break down the way that Karen Read is saying that this all played out. Is she's putting everything on Proctor. Okay, she's putting everything on Proctor in terms of like that he was the one that actually planted the shit, had somebody plant the shit. Buchanan, they did it together. And in my whole thing with that is that where did the conversation occur? And it had to be at the McCabe's house, Okay. And that's why Brian Albert went over there and they all talked. But my whole thing is, how does Proctor, it's one thing to just look the other way, pin it on the girl. Now you're going to put yourself like, hey, you guys got yourself into this mess. I'll just look the other way. But why would Proctor, why am I going to plant evidence? You can get your hands dirty. I'll just look the other way. And that's where it's like, okay, Proctor, are you going to, these people are facing fucking jail, prison time. This is wild. There's no way that they can't, how do you answer to this? You're just going to keep denying it? Sure, you can live in that fucking fantasy land. From the beginning, investigators from the MSP allowed the House defendants to direct the investigation away from themselves and towards Miss Reed. The House defendants were a well-connected and close social group with strong ties to law enforcement. The Alberts are a prominent family in Canton, and the investigating police officers knew them well. So, in case you guys don't know how this would be answered, it would say like number 1, and then you're denying or agreeing to that statement. So when it's listed as like 1, and then it says whatever it says, number 3, and so when you're answering it, you would deny or agree, and you could like give more of like an explanation. You could say like, I have no opinion of this because I don't know. I need more information. So the lead investigator for the Massachusetts State Police, Michael Proctor, grew up in Canton and resides there to this day. He has been and remains close personal friends with the Albert family. House defendant Brian Albert was a longtime Boston police officer, and House defendant Brian Higgins was an agent with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Fire and Explosives. Adhering to unwritten rule of protecting their own, Proctor and his MSP colleagues intentionally disregarded the obvious and compelling evidence tying the House defendants to Mr. O'Keefe's murder. Specifically, Mr. O'Keefe's injuries were consistent with a physical altercation. Now, this is what comes into play. They have dash cam, that's going to show that Michael Lang, when he arrived, he is overheard saying that it looks like John O'Keefe had been in an altercation. Michael Lank, welcome to the game. You're going to be a big witness. That's what he said. Also, Yuri Buchanan makes the same type of statements when he goes to the hospital. Continuing on, they say that specifically Mr. O'Keefe's injuries were consistent with the physical altercation. He had bruises and lacerations on his face and a deep gash to the back of his head, suggesting that he was punched and then fell backwards, hitting his head on a ridged surface. He also had dog bite wounds and scratches on his right arm and forearm. Equally evident, Mr. O'Keefe did not have a single injury consistent with being struck by a vehicle. He did not have any broken bones or even a bruise on his leg, his feet, his arms, shoulders, torso, back, ribs, or anywhere below his neck that a medical examiner would otherwise expect to find on a person struck and killed by an impact from a 3-ton vehicle. And to ease any doubt, the Commonwealth's own medical examiner, pathologist who conducted the autopsy for the Commonwealth, concluded that Mr. O'Keefe's body showed no signs of a vehicular strike. Despite that, Proctor and others shielded the House defendants by intentionally sidestepping fundamental investigatory procedures. So they're going to show, because you're going to be going after, these cops, and you're going to show that your investigatory procedures totally veered and totally went astray from your normal practices, best practices. Propelled by the House defendants' false statements, including that Mr. O'Keefe never went into the house, that's the lie. So from reading this, basically, Karen Reed's putting all her eggs in one basket with that is, and saying how the lies developed and how the story developed was after what happened that night, they concocted this plan right away. And it was, everybody's going to say he never came in the house. Obstructing justice. That's what comes to mind with that. Lying, obstructing justice. You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? So Proctor reported in text messages just hours into the investigation that the House defendants weren't going to get any shit for this because he's Brian Albert's a Boston cop, and that Proctor was determined to make the investigation cut and dry by bringing charges against the girl. Indeed, Proctor made his intentions clear in writing. Karen Read had zero chance of skating. She's fucked. This pronouncement was a mere 16 hours after Mr. O'Keefe's body was discovered on the Alberts lawn, and Proctor had not even walked into the house. True to his promise, Proctor and his colleagues did not search the house for blood evidence resulting from the gash to the back of Mr. O'Keefe's head, or for fingerprints, or for DNA evidence. Proctor did not search the house despite the fact that Mr. O'Keefe was discovered without a winter coat. That's going to be huge. Huge. Canton Police Department is going to be added to this, and the town of Canton. Now we know why. Ready? Now we know why in trial number 1, good old Nuttall lied about the puffy coat. Nuttall lied about John having a puffy coat because it then we didn't need to go inside. Nobody needed to go inside because he had a puffy jacket on. He was dressed fine. That's why he lied for investigators. So he lied about this puffy jacket because anybody that would see that a man who is missing a shoe, witnesses said he had a hat on, and that he, you didn't know at the time it's freezing outside. He doesn't have a jacket on. You would think that he came from right there in the house. So Nuttall going to be a big part of this trial of this civil case, because I personally believe that he took one for the team, and that's why he talked about this puffy fucking coat that knew that it didn't exist. Also talking about, where is there any pictures from the ambulance with, like, when we get to the chain of custody on the clothing, it's disgusting. The police did not examine or take evidence from the Alberts German Shepherd that was in the house on January 29th, a dog that had a history of attacking other dogs and people. All that stuff everything that we were waiting for, like the whole juicy shit in the Karen Read case, it's all coming out in this trial. Okay, where's Chloe? Fuck, I wouldn't be surprised if Chloe's going to be there. Somebody better have Chloe have a front row seat to this shit. It's going down. Get Chloe some gold chains and shit. Chloe star witness. Like, and neither Proctor nor any of MSP troopers conducted physical examinations of the house defendants for evidence of an involvement in an altercation, such as marks on their hands, knuckles, or face, or bruises of their bodies. They did not seize or search the house defendants' phones. They conducted only perfunctory, unrecorded conversations with Proctor's friends and acquaintances without any attempt to corroborate their stories. That's going to be huge. They recorded none of these interviews. There is not a single recording of these interviews. Now, once you get into these people's phones, or if stuff was downloaded to the iCloud, there could be a chance, because these people know what's up, there could be a chance that one of these idiots actually recorded themselves, though, being interviewed. Now, wouldn't that be some shit to catch in the cloud? The fucking Matt McCabe fucking... Also, do you want to know what this lawsuit talks about? They think that Brian Albert had actual surveillance cameras at his house, and that they lied, buried him, and got him out of there, and like that he basically had like a Ring camera system. Can you imagine if that comes out? They permitted would-be witnesses to communicate with each other and coordinate their stories before any formal interviews. They allowed critical evidence to be manipulated in some instances and outright destroyed in others. In short, by focusing the investigation solely on Miss Read as implicated or by implicitly directed by the House defendants through the misrepresentations they made to police, Proctor and his colleagues disregarded and failed to obtain pertinent interviews and other critical evidence from the House defendants that cannot now be recovered or recreated. Number 8, Proctor also secretly communicated with the Alberts on his personal phone That means that they have evidence of it. There is evidence of Proctor and Albert's on his personal phone deliberately back channeling those communications to circumvent his state issued device and used his sister as a conduit. Boom. Okay. Boom. It's going to come down to who's going to save themselves. I'm telling you, this is, they're going for an indictment. And in the latest, guess who's going to run for DA in Norfolk County? The person that went into the probe, that wanted a federal investigation on all these people and into the murder of all of this. Yeah, he is. If he wins that and is the DA, these people are getting indicted. These people are going to be prosecuted. This is going to be like, you want to talk about fucking A. This is, if we witness something like this is never, I've never witnessed anything like this type of a, and I think I think Karen Read wants to be the person to take it all the way. That's why I don't think she's going to settle. I think that's why I'm nervous of like, how would it be if like they just don't answer to this, you know? And they don't turn over discovery because they just I'll go for a default judgment. This is so awesome. I'm just so excited. But I'm also telling myself we're never going to see a trial because there's just no way these people could be that stupid to play ball with this. Like, there's just no way. Julie Albert then passed that same, because Julie then would talk to, so for instance, they say, on multiple occasions, Proctor disclosed critical and confidential information about the investigation to his sister, who passed that information to her close friend, Julie Albert, Brian Albert's sister-in-law. Guess who's going to have to testify to that? Courtney. Courtney, don't lie because they have your phone. Okay? And so then you're going to have families testifying against each other. It's going down. What is up, Karen? Karen, you here for this? You better be here for this, Karen. What is up? I want to put their faces. There we go. Put Karen up there. There we go. Let's see. Proctor then went so far as to manufacture evidence. They're putting it on Proctor here. It's going to be televised. They're not going federal. They're not taking this federally. So Proctor then went so far as to manufacture evidence to ensure that Miss Read, not his friends and fellow law enforcement officers, was blamed for Mr. O'Keefe's death. This included planting evidence at the scene on Mr. O'Keefe's clothing and on Miss Read's vehicle to support the false narrative that Miss Read hit Mr. O'Keefe with her car, even though he knew Mr. O'Keefe's injuries were inconsistent with a motor vehicle strike and consistent with a physical altercation and dog attack. Dude, do you understand that? Wheel them up. You're going to be able to call in these CSI people. Which one do you like the best? That's why he was being so nice to Maureen Hartnett. I love Maureen. I want to see her back in the chair, man. God. Far from conducting an objective investigation with integrity, Proctor personally sexualized and dehumanized Miss Read. We all know about that, so I'm going to pass that up. Indeed, Proctor's supervisor. So this is where you get the Brian Tullys involved in the world and in the Buchnicks. Indeed, Proctor's supervisors and the MSP knew about and condoned Proctor's unlawful conduct, and in some instances expressly encouraged this flagrant abuse of power by, thumbsing up, doing all that shit. Now, relying on manufactured evidence, actively ignoring exculpatory evidence, and without investigating obvious signs pointing toward the House defendants, the Commonwealth secured 2 separate arrest warrants for Miss Read and a knowingly baseless indictment against her, and then wrongfully prosecuted her for murder not once, but twice. As alleged below, these unlawful acts not only underlie plaintiff's meritless wrongful death claim against Miss Read, that's what I was talking about, that's how they're intertwining this. This is her defense against this. But they also formed the foundation for Miss Reed's claims against the defendants. These acts violated Miss Reed's state and federal constitutional rights, the Massachusetts Civil Rights Act, and well-established Massachusetts tort principles. They are so fucked. These people are so fucked. Like, oh my God, fucked. I think this runs way deeper than we can imagine, though, why all these people would play ball with each other like this. It's because this shit has happened before, and people owe people favors, and that is a huge domino that I want to see fall. Okay? Because why would random people just do something like this? I'm sorry, but like, I'm just not going to. Again, I'll look the other way, but you want me to physically do something? Absolutely not. And so, like, when you're going to, like, these are accessories after the fact to murder. Now, on June 18th, 2025, after a 2-month trial, a jury rejected the Commonwealth's theory in part because the overwhelming physical, scientific, and medical evidence established that Miss Reed's vehicle did not strike Mr. O'Keefe and that Mr. O'Keefe's injuries did not come from a vehicle strike. Although Miss Reed was ultimately and finally acquitted of all charges related to the death of Mr. O'Keefe, Proctor was fired, and nearly every MSP officer in Proctor's chain of command was disciplined for their egregious abuses and misdeeds. The Commonwealth still has not sought or provided justice, not to the O'Keefe family, not to the community at large, and certainly not to Miss Reed. Ooh, daddy. In response, the Commonwealth has offered only empty platitudes instead of solutions. And they just quote this fucking idiot. But he says, I'm eyes wide open to a culture issue that I have concerns with as it relates to Trooper Proctor, end quote. These hollow words do nothing to right the devastating wrongs that have been visited on Miss Reed. Colonel Noble's words confess a sickness deep in the marrow of the MSP, but offer no remedy, no medicine, no relief to someone so brutally victimized by it. On Wednesday, March 19, 2025, following the public disclosure of Proctor's illegal and unethical conduct related to the Reed investigation, the MSP's trial board found Michael Proctor guilty of a Class A violation, which included that he was biased in his dealings with a homicide suspect and or brought otherwise himself and the Massachusetts State Police into disrepute. Miss Reed's life was not merely turned upside down by the MSP's and the House defendants' misconduct. It was forever changed by the defendant's transgressions and wrongdoing. The years of uncertainty and unimaginable emotional distress have left lasting scars that will never heal. At the same time, neither Mr. O'Keefe nor his family has received justice. His killer or killers still walk free. This is the paragraph where I am telling you Karen Reed is not doing this for money. Yes, she's going to get her money, but she wants to see this all the way through. She wants to be a witness at those people's trial, criminal trials. And she would. At the same time, by asserting her claims against MSP, Proctor, his supervisors, the town of Canton, and the House defendants, Miss Reed seeks at minimum to confront and redress these wrongs and others. More importantly, she seeks to force, right here, more importantly, she seeks to force the Commonwealth to fulfill its duty to stop law enforcement from trampling the innocent to protect their own. Oh my God, that is so well written. Holy shit. I'd be on the next plane. You guys think that, you know, the Adelson, watching those Adelsons go one by one by one? God, I want to watch these McAlberts go one by one by one by one. All right, the parties in this case, are Karen Reed. Obviously, she is the plaintiff. Defendant Michael Proctor is a former Massachusetts police. Obviously, Yuri Buchanan. Defendant Brian Tully. Lieutenant Brian Tully. Defendant Brian Albert. Defendant Nicole Albert. Defendant Jennifer McCabe. Defendant Matthew McCabe. Defendant Brian Higgins. So those are your parties in the case. Thank you. Are you going? Okay. So those are your parties. We were looking up venue here. I want to know if they did some research here. Karen Reed resides in Bristol, so that's why she filed there. I'm curious if they did some looking at the docket to see if they, hey, is one of their things that they're going to push for is that Bristol could take both of them on and to move it to Bristol. But I don't know. Okay. Now the facts common to all counts. So we're clear about these counts. It's the Mr. O'Keefe death they're going to talk about. Then they're going to talk about Miss Reed searches for Mr. O'Keefe. Then the investigation begins. Then Proctor, Buchanan, and Tully engage in a corrupt and biased investigation by not investigating inside the house and interviewing house defendants at friends rather than suspects. Then the next topic is rather than investigate their friends and Proctor, Buchanan, Tully, MSP target Karen Reed. Then Proctor and Buchanan plant certain evidence and make false statements in court and other legal documents to frame Karen Reed. That's where I'm going to skip to. Proctor made this investigation cut and dry by manufacturing a case against Miss Reed. A crucial first step was to ensure that the crime scene and evidence was not secured. Exactly. That's exactly what they did. And that's what you would have to do. That's what looking the other way is. I'm just, it's like, hey, you work at such and such place. You check people out, right? Well, when I just come through, can you just go to the bathroom so I can walk out with all my items? What? Yeah, and then I'll give you some. You don't have to do anything. You just have to go to the bathroom. Okay. So this was in violation of MSP policy and well-established best practices for critical incident investigations. Specifically, the MSP crime laboratory requires proper processing of evidence at major crime scenes, including crime scene photography, photographing, and evidence processing, which is to recover latent fingerprints, footwear, and tire track evidence. Neither the MSP troopers involved in this investigation nor the CPD police officers on the scene secured the Alberts' home or the area where Mr. O'Keefe's body was found. The MSP did not take any photographs of the house, including any part of the yard where O'Keefe's body was found until February 1st. Now, I have a question about that. I don't know where they're getting that it was February 1st, because my understanding is the CERT team that night, which Tully was a part of, Tully was there for, they took photographs unless they know something that we don't, unless they're trying to say that CERT search never happened. Okay, but there's most certainly pictures from that. Or are there not? I thought there were pictures from that night. Anyways, so I want to get that cleared up, but that's why I wanted to skip over this part because it was really important. Because this is the stuff that this is how you're going to win. More than 3 full days later, okay, they definitely weren't in the house. They, I think they were just taking these little here you go. They have the picture of the shoe, that's where the picture of the shoe comes from. So moving on. No photographs were ever taken of the inside or garage of 34 Fairview ever. Yes, I know that inside the house was never taken, guys. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying when you read the sentence as a whole, I'm going to read it again. And I'm going to tell you that I believe that they made a mistake when they wrote this. Okay. I'm unbiased. The MSP did not take any photographs of the house, including any part of the yard where O'Keefe's body was found until February 1st, more than 3 full days later. I don't believe that sentence. I want to know how that sentence is accurate. I watched 2 trials. I have ridiculous notes in my brain. That is a false statement, in my opinion. No photographs were ever taken of the inside of the garage or 34 Fairview. That's a true statement. I've never seen one. This intentional departure from established protocols permitted Proctor and Buchanan to generate false, they're including Buchanan in this. Dude, this is crazy. This is crazy. Okay. We knew, hey, Proctor and Buchanan generated false incriminating evidence against Miss Reed and give the House defendants time to destroy the actual evidence. I personally believe that they're going to be able to prove this because of what went down and why everybody went to Jen McCabe's house and had that meeting at 11:30 in the morning. Oh, hey, come over here. Yeah, you can interview me. That's where the meetings of the minds had to have taken place. Okay. Proctor and Buchanan, they go over to Jen McCabe's, and then Brian Albert goes over there, supposedly, allegedly, And if these phones have, I can only imagine what's in Proctor's phone. How about his GPS? This is going to get wild. This is going to get wild. Absolutely wild. Woo, 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 woo. They took you guys all the way over here so that they can continue to destroy evidence over there. By approximately 2:30 p.m. on January 29th, before he had ever met or interviewed Miss Reed or seen her Lexus, Proctor had already ordered seizure of the vehicle at her parents' home in Dighton. By 4:17 p.m., the vehicle was in MSP's physical possession. The vehicle was then towed to the CPD Sallyport, even though the MSP has at least 2 closer barracks, and Massachusetts was in the middle of a historic nor'easter. Proctor knew he had more leeway to manipulate evidence regarding the SUV at CPD than at MSP's facilities, and he knew he needed to have the evidence in close proximity to the crime scene at 34 Fairview. This is wild. And it's so true. Before the vehicle arrived at the garage, Miss Reed's Lexus taillight had a minor crack, but it was intact. The crack occurred when Miss Reed backed into Mr. O'Keefe's car at 5 a.m. that morning as she was leaving to search for him. That incident was captured on video. Buchanan and Proctor followed the vehicle from Dighton and arrived at CPD at 5:35 p.m., just moments after the tow truck with the Lexus. At some points after the vehicle arrived at the Sallyport, the right rear taillight was almost entirely destroyed. Video taken from different angles in the Sallyport shows Buchanan, Proctor, Canton Police Chief Ken Berkowitz, and other individuals near the taillight, but notably, no video captures the taillight's appearance at the precise time it arrived at the Sallyport. The available surveillance video from the Sallyport, as well as CPD access card swipe log obtained by a separate law enforcement agency. Boom. That is where I was like, oh my God. The feds actually obtained the log. And that means that Alan Jackson and his team didn't get their hands on that till like literally right before trial, the first go around. And they didn't have time to really go through it like, with a fine comb. But that log revealed that seemingly unfettered access to the Sallyport by a myriad of individuals throughout the evening of January 29th, including just before and just after 5:30 p.m. It's crazy. Again, I was always under the impression, because this didn't come out that way, that the logs were part of Discovery. So one or more of them destroyed the taillight. One or more of them destroyed the taillight. Secretly took pics of it into their possession. I'm sorry, secretly took pieces of it. I was like, pictures? I'm like, wait, what? So one or more of them destroyed the taillight, secretly took pieces of it into their possession, and then planted some of them in various places at 34 Fairview and on Mr. O'Keefe's clothing. That part. To be planting it on his clothing, which, right? They picked it up, and now how they're able to prove that part of it, this is the best part, is because it was not sealed up when they collected the clothes. Knowing that there were video cameras both inside and outside the Sallyport, Proctor and Buchanan worked together to obscure their role in manipulating the right rear taillight, and then ultimately to present false evidence at the first criminal trial. Specifically, Proctor directed Buchanan to secure video footage from the surveillance cameras located both inside and outside the Sallyport garage, which he did. These videos were manipulated in two different ways. They're saying that they can prove. Alan Jackson, the size of a dinner plate. These videos were manipulated in two different ways, not just one, but two. I'm here for it. First, a critical 42-minute portion was deleted from the footage from the Sallyport front wall camera. The portion from 5:08 in 2 seconds to 5:50 in 50 seconds, which included the exact time Miss Reed's Lexus arrived in the garage. This footage would have shown that the taillight was intact. Second, footage from the Sallyport back wall camera was inverted, which made the right side of Miss Reed's vehicle appear to be the left side and vice versa. Now, remember, the trials that we just watched, they had people coming forward saying that video has always been like that. It was nothing new. It's always been like that. Wow. So y'all knew that and you just never fixed it? I'm curious about that, right? So the inverted video, which made the right side of Miss Reed's vehicle appear to be the left side and vice versa. Another camera, the main driveway side exterior, captured the back end of the Lexus as it arrived at CPD, but was too grainy to decipher the condition of the passenger taillight. The videos from inside and outside the Sallyport and Proctor's request for Buchanan to obtain it was intentionally hidden from Karen Reed and her defense attorneys for more than 2 years to avoid scrutiny. The video was then sprung on them immediately before and during the first trial. One driveway camera's footage was not revealed to the defense until just prior to the start of the second trial. In fact, Buchanan presented one part of the video during his direct testimony under questioning by the Assistant District Attorney Adam Lally. Buchanan narrated the video to the jury, correctly identified that Proctor was at the rear of the vehicle, but claimed that he never approached the right rear taillight of the area of the vehicle. That testimony, however, was entirely false. As he well knew, the video that Buchanan authenticated as a fair and accurate was actually neither fair nor accurate because it had been inverted. This is crazy. We knew this was coming, but when you just read it and you see it in black and white, it's like, they are criminals. This is what criminals do every day when we're prosecuting people to put them away for heinous crimes, right? And they're trying this is like gangbanger shit, man. This is so sick. This is what criminals do. They are criminals. These fucking people are criminal. They are criminals. They've been criminals. Fuck them. God. I want them all. I want all their asses. Okay. Just so we're clear, I want war with all of you. I want war with all of you. Proctor was actually behind. Okay, so where was I getting all excited about this? Okay. Proctor was actually behind the right taillight for a significant period, but because it was inverted, it appeared in the video that he was behind the left side. They hoped this would allow Buchanan to lie about this issue at trial without detection. With this video and Buchanan's false testimony, the MSP, Proctor, and Buchanan attempted to mislead the jury in order to conceal the tampering with and planting of taillight material. That's exactly what they did. Number 80. Proctor and Buchanan also took taillight pieces from the Sally Port, brought them back to 34 Fairview to plant them in the location where Mr. O'Keefe's body was found, and then falsified various documents in an attempt to hide their conduct. Bunch of unintelligent people. Yeah, exactly. In warrant applications to the Stoughton District Court and Norfolk Superior Court for searches of Google's electronic records, ring videos, Miss Reed's phone, Miss Reed's vehicle, cell tower records, and other sources of information, Proctor swore he seized Miss Reed's vehicle from her parents' home at 5:30 p.m. on January 29th, 2022, and had the vehicle towed to the CPD. Reports shared by the Dighton Police Department in 2023 revealed that the Lexus was towed from Dighton at 4:17 p.m. Proctor's assertion that he seized it at 5:30 p.m. was intentionally false to hide the fact that the car was in police custody for 73 minutes longer than indicated in his sworn affidavit. You know, for her arrest, that would come out too. Proctor maintained that false narrative because it would hide the exact time frame when he had the opportunity to remove pieces of the taillight from Miss Reed's vehicle and bring them back to the house so that he could later claim the pieces had been there since approximately 12:30 a.m. on January 29th. However, unbeknownst to him, driveway video from the Reed residence in Dighton and a report written by the Dighton Police Department revealed Proctor's lie and revealed the true and accurate timestamp of the Lexus coming into the possession of the MSP. Unbelievable. What is that, Boston? We knew it was coming. We knew this was coming. And I can't believe that the O'Keefe family just is, I mean, Karen Reed's going to be a multi-millionaire. And here's the O'Keefes. Go get yourself some money. Go get paid. You should be joining Karen Reed and you should become a freaking plaintiff. That would be the ultimate. I mean, do you want to just, it just blows me away. Blows me away after this is filing for you just to sit there and realize Karen Reed's going to own that town. The money there for days. And in the O'Keefes, what? You think that you're going to sue Karen Reed and win? That's never going to happen. You're not going to win. This is the defense to that. And she can prove all of this. I know, this is great. Karen's going to own D&E Pizza and call it fuck you fucking. She's going to just give out free slices. She's going to own D&E and give like literally away free pizza. Free pizza to the kids on Wednesdays. She's going to only open up the joint for Wednesdays for kids to come in to get free pizza. And that's what I would do. And just piss on them. And then close up shop after I left from 6 to 9. It was just free slices for the kids. Close up the door and walk on out. Um, next up here, it says Proctor also deposited the SUV taillight pieces that he had, he and others removed from the vehicle in the Sally Port on Mr. O'Keefe's clothing. Proctor retrieved Mr. O'Keefe's clothes from the floor of the hospital where he was pronounced deceased. Instead of securing the clothes in a sealed container or bag, as protocol requires, Proctor and Buchanan drove them around in his car all day and then placed them in the Norfolk County District Attorney's office for at least 6 days, where they were accessible to Proctor, Buchanan, and any other MSP trooper. This is why they did not suppress any of this, because they needed to use it. Remember, they used all of this to show it all. If they would have suppressed this evidence from the jury, then they could not show all of it. That's where you're battling with, like, these are called strategic decisions. And good people that are good lawyers and good litigators, we're going to be able to present this to the jury. Like lazy people, no, we'll just suppress this. We'll just suppress that. We'll just blah, blah, blah. That's why I think Sheldon Jeter Jr., he could be in the same boat if he can have a lawyer that sees this material, has it, and you're going to be able to get him walk out the doors in a heartbeat, because the police did the same thing to him with the help of citizens as well. It's the same basically thing. Okay. Proctor and Buchanan failed to create a log to document the chain of custody of the clothing. Therefore, and by design, there is no record of when, how many times, and under what circumstances Proctor and Buchanan touched, manipulated, handled, or otherwise tampered with that clothing. So sick. The MSP Evidence Submission Handbook dictates that chain of custody begins at the time of collection, and that the collector seal evidence packages as soon as possible after collecting to ensure the integrity of evidence items and limit loss of transient evidence. Here, in violation of MSP's stated policies, the chain of custody for all of John O'Keefe's clothing, as well as dozens of pieces of taillight material, they do not begin until March 14th, 2022. March 14th. Oh my God, nearly 2 months after it was collected, when Proctor finally submitted it to the MSP Crime Lab. At some point before providing those clothes to the crime lab, Proctor and Buchanan placed pieces of SUV taillight on them, where they were then identified by the crime lab in 2023 when they finally did the work on it. Proctor also planted pieces of glass on the bumper of Miss Reed's SUV while he was in his possession at the CPD Sallyport garage, which he then claimed to have recovered later on February 1st. Again, let me repeat that for you. Proctor also planted pieces of glass on the bumper of Miss Reed's SUV while it was in his possession at the CPD Sallyport garage, which he then claimed to have recovered later on February 1st. Proctor planted this evidence to make it look like these shards originated from a cocktail glass that Mr. O'Keefe was holding when he exited the waterfall bar. Evidently, Proctor did not plan on Karen Reed's defense attorneys insisting on forensically testing on the glass shards, which showed that they did not match the cocktail glass in Mr. O'Keefe's possession. You guys, this is so great. Just evidently, they just did not think that they would ever test this shit. That this Fall River rat piece of shit is going down. We're going to, this is what you call a railroad job. We're going to fuck her so bad that she's going to have to take a plea deal. Okay? That's why you overcharge people too. Okay, so Proctor did not plan on Karen Reed's defense team attorneys insisting on forensic testing on the glass shards, which showed that they did not match the cocktail glass in Mr. O'Keefe's possession. In fact, the 5 glass pieces originated from multiple different sources. One shard of glass on the bumper did match another piece of glass that had been in Proctor's possession during the investigation. The only way for the glass to have ended up on the SUV bumper is that Proctor planted it there in an attempt to connect the vehicle to the death of Mr. O'Keefe. Ah, Jesus, this is just, God. We need to get some shots going. This is good shit. Just wow, right? Wow. Other aspects of conflicted and corrupt investigation. Number 88. Proctor's, Buchanan's, and MSP's investigation was rife with other examples of corruption and bias. For example, despite evidence that Brian Albert may have had video surveillance at the house, this is what I'm talking about, neither Proctor nor Buchanan nor any other member of MSP issued subpoenas to Ring or any other home surveillance company. And no one questioned any other member of the Albert family about the presence of video monitoring. I want to know if there is anything in the histories of the iCloud world, right? Is there evidence that they had a Ring camera? Because they're putting this in there. This is crazy. This is, which would make sense. You're a Boston cop. You're not going to have surveillance at your house. The fuck you aren't. Right? They're going to be able to subpoena Ring. They're going to be able to subpoena all of the places that issue surveillance stuff like that. And have you ever provided, if you ever, is there any accounts with these people's names? Capiche? This is going to be insane. This is going to be insanity. I'm over here just so excited for it. I don't know about you guys. I want to know every case that Brian Albert was a part of. Where's the Wahlbergs right now? Go make a movie on this, you fucks. Keep on doing sit-ups, Mark Wahlberg. They back the blue no matter what. Sad. You should just back good people, no matter what they do. That's what I say. Proctor and the MSP also failed to track down other important witnesses and evidence. For example, Brian Loughran, Lucky, a town of Canton snowplow operator, turned out to be one of the most significant witnesses in the entire criminal trial. Proctor and his colleagues never spoke to him during their investigation, and only did so once Lucky was interviewed by the separate law enforcement agency. That is critical. And provided statements inconsistent with MSP's narrative 18 months after Miss Reed was already indicted and awaiting trial. Specifically, Lucky drove his snowplow by the house multiple times in the early morning hours of January 29th, including at 2:30 a.m. and 3:30 a.m. He reported that there was no body on the lawn at 34 Fairview, nor cars on the street in front of the house at 2:30 a.m. Mr. Loughran believes he would have seen a body had it been on the lawn where Mr. O'Keefe's body was found. Instead, the second time he drove by the house around 3:30 a.m., Mr. Loughran saw a Ford Edge in front of Albert's home that had not been there an hour earlier, but which was then parked where Mr. O'Keefe's body was later found. Brian Albert drove a Ford Edge at the time. However, the Ford Edge was gone by the time Miss Reed arrived to the house around 6 a.m. Remember I was telling you guys about that? I said, look at the cars in the driveway. Look in the cars in the driveway. We're short cars. We're missing vehicles. It's going to come out in this trial, if we get to a trial. Proctor. However, the Ford Edge was gone by the time Miss Reed arrived to the house around 6 a.m. And in its place, she discovered Mr. O'Keefe's body. Perfectly said. Perfectly said. So where Lucky is saying the vehicle was at 3:30, that's miraculously where then Karen Reed would ultimately find John O'Keefe's body. And then where's the Ford Edge? Proctor also secretly made efforts to protect other Albert family members during the investigation who may also have been or had a role in Mr. O'Keefe's death. So that's where Karen leaves the door open for Colin Albert's criminal pending case. She's like, I'm not gonna fucking sue that piece of shit little fucking kid. He's got a little pecker and he ain't no money. Fuck him. You can bang bang pow away. But she says Proctor also secretly made efforts to protect other Albert family members during the investigation who may also have been or had a role in Mr. O'Keefe's death. Now we get to one of my favorite people, Julie Nagel. Let's have a beer, girl. Witness Julie Nagel told Proctor that Colin Albert, Brian Albert's nephew, had been present at the house the night of January 28th into the 29th. But Proctor omitted his name from his official summary of Miss Nagel's interview, even though he listed all others who had been present at the house with Colin. When Miss Reed's attorneys filed a motion to obtain Proctor's notes, his handwritten memorialization of the Julie Nagel interview mirrored almost exactly what was typed up in his police report, except for the words Colin Albert. Holy shit. Take that. Come on, Julie. Let me tell you what's going to happen with the Julie Nagels of the world and the Sarah Levingsons of the world. These people's phones, they're going to be witnesses. But more importantly, we're going to be deposing you. We're going to ask you to bring your phone records. We can get all that stuff. We're allowed to do Deuce Techums. We're going to fucking do them. And we're getting all of that information. So all of those people's phones that were never got before, they're coming out in discovery here. And I cannot wait to see these text messages between these fucking cows saying shit like, oh my God, I'm getting harassed here at the hospital. Brian Albert's trying to plant it in my ass. And if I don't do it, oh my God, we got to go have drinks at McCarthy's. White Claws for days. Are we going to be able to watch the trial? Yeah, it's in they didn't go federally. This isn't a federal case. Oh my goodness. Do you understand that everything that any of them have testified to? Okay. If anything changes, there could be potential that we're going to charge you with perjury down the road. You can be charged with perjury. We better see the fan again. I want to see my number one fan, man. Okay. This is great. Like, I'm excited. You know, I have a question for everybody. Is Turtle Boy gonna cover the case? Is he gonna, stream it, go to it, do whatever, like he's always said he's gonna cover the case? What do you guys think? Turtle Boy is gonna be a huge witness. White Claws for days. He has said yes, so he's going to cover it. So that'll be interesting. Yeah, great question, huh? He said he was going to cover it. I think he's just going to be motherfucking everybody then. Okay. Moving on. Proctor's interactions with Kevin Albert, Brian Albert's brother, during the investigation also demonstrates his close relationship with the Albert family, as well as his propensity for violating MSP rules and Massachusetts criminal laws. Repeatedly, Proctor used his personal cell phone to speak with Kevin, a CPD officer, instead of official channels when he coordinated interviews of witnesses, even though CPD was recused from the investigation. These people are gonna look like such like God. Please, Karen, don't take the settlement. Please, Karen, don't take the settlement. Please, McCabe's, be so stupid to answer this. Be so stupid to fight this. Be so stupid to countersue. Please. Those are my Christmas witches right there. Please. repeatedly moving on. Further, in the middle of Proctor's investigation in the summer of 2022, it was discovered that Proctor and Kevin Albert were out drinking together. They were out together drinking alcohol and driving in Proctor's cruiser on Cape Cod. I wonder if this was wrote before the kill switch, that's going to come out. At the end of the night, Kevin Albert forgot to bring home his gun and badge and left them in Proctor's cruiser. Their drinking and driving in Proctor's MSP vehicle violated both MSP policies as well as various Massachusetts criminal statutes, and further highlights the conflicted nature of MSP's investigation. God. Oh, shit. Moreover, because of their close relationship, Proctor, Buchanan, and Tully worked together with CPD in hiding certain videos from Karen Reed's criminal defense team. Specifically upon information and belief, so they're going to go get this. They believe it's there. MPD and CPD collaborated to keep exculpatory surveillance videos from Miss Reed's criminal defense team in preparation for the first trial. Those videos captured Brian Higgins' activities in the CPD parking lot and inside the police station shortly after the physical altercation at the house that led to Mr. O'Keefe's death. Holy shit. Upon information and belief. When you usually write that, let me tell you why. I've done a couple of these. It's because you believe that the discovery that you're going to go and get is going to reveal that. And that would be messages, text messages, communications, communicating that. And that's going to be fucking awesome. Absolutely awesome. Those videos captured Brian Higgins' activities in the CPD parking lot and inside the police station shortly after the physical altercation at the house that led to Mr. O'Keefe's death. They demonstrated that Higgins' statements about his post-house party activities on the night of Mr. O'Keefe's death were not accurate. Not at all. Upon information and belief, CPD knew it and had this evidence and worked with MSP to keep it from Miss Reed. The audacity. Additionally, upon information and belief, CPD set its auto-delete function for saving certain surveillance videos from the Sally port to 30 days, therefore assuring the immediate destruction of likely additional exculpatory evidence. The 30-day auto-delete setting conflicts with the fact that the CPD videos were shared with the defense over the course of 3 years, though. Therefore, either the setting was changed to prevent a defense expert from auditing the video, right? That's what I think, which is when the 30-day delete section was set over, or the footage was obtained within 30 days of January 29th, and then they just withheld it and then sprinkled it to him. It's going to be one of those things. And both suck. I love it. I think it could also be both of them. Does everybody understand that? Like, I did a whole big example of that. And it all came about when this guy was like, oh, I think I have some stuff saved on my computer. Now, the indictments, trials, and aftermath. Miss Reed was arrested on February 1st of 2022, pursuant to criminal complaint, charging her with manslaughter, among other charges. She was required to post a $50,000 for bail, and the court imposed several other conditions of release, including loss of her driver's license and stay-away orders from the O'Keefe family and John O'Keefe's home. Miss Reed was later rearrested on June 9th, 2022, after being indicted for second-degree murder, manslaughter, and leaving the scene of an accident resulting in death. Her bail was then set at $100,000 by the Norfolk County Superior Court. In February of 2023, her bail was reduced to $80,000 at the defense's request. Miss Reed was tried twice by the Commonwealth. The first trial started in April 2024 and ended on July 1st after the court ordered a mistrial because of a hung jury. On June 18, 2025, following another nearly 2-month trial, Miss Reed was acquitted of all charges associated with the death of John O'Keefe, murder, manslaughter, and leaving the scene of an accident resulting in death. For the first time in 3.5 years, Karen Reed was able to leave court knowing that the forces aligned against her had failed to convince a jury to buy their deception. Hell yeah, Karen. So well written. Beginning in January of 2022, the defendant's actions have had profound effect on Miss Reed. She lost her employment and income. She lost her professorship. She lost her private health insurance. That's unbelievable. She lost her car and her driver's license. She lost her house. Her reputation, both personally and professionally, was utterly destroyed. She incurred multiple millions of dollars in debt for legal fees and additional millions in expert fees and costs. In addition, after being arrested twice, jailed twice, and tried twice, she has suffered years of intense stress and emotional harm, worried that she would be in prison for the rest of her natural life for a crime she did not commit. Miss Reed suffers from both Crohn's disease and multiple sclerosis, as documented under seal with the criminal courts. Miss Reed has undergone tens of surgeries to manage her illness prior to January 29, 2022, and endured a blood infusion just months before Mr. O'Keefe's death. In the aftermath of the charges, 2 arrests, and during both trials, Miss Reed suffered a well-documented exacerbation of her symptoms amid the stress, anxiety, and emotional and physical impacts of being wrongfully accused of murder. While fighting for her freedom against a corrupt prosecution, Miss Reed underwent dozens upon dozens of documented medical procedures and treatments to attempt to address her health issues. That's disgusting. And yet she got up like every single day and literally like put one foot in front of the other. There was just one day that she had to ask for, like, I'm sick. Otherwise, she showed up every day like a champ to take on these fucking pieces of shit. The defendants concocted a plan, executed that plan, and framed an innocent woman, and they are now responsible for these extraordinary damages Miss Reed has suffered at their hands. Yeah, she's suing them, Karen. She's suing everybody. Karen Reed owns Canton. You might as well just call it Reed instead of Canton. Call it Reed. She's going to own that town. She's suing everybody. She's going to win big. MSP investigates and punishes Proctor, Buchanan, and Tully for their misconduct during the investigation. Proctor wrote more than 1/3 of the police reports in this case, and he didn't even testify at the second trial. I don't even know how that was possible. Proctor wrote more than 1/3 of the police reports in this case, testified at the state grand jury 3 separate times, interviewed every member of the Albert and McCabe families, had possession, at least until March 14th, 2022, of all of John O'Keefe's clothing and all of the taillight pieces found broken from the housing process Mr. O'Keefe's Chevrolet Traverse the day after Miss Reed was arraigned, had access to and reviewed all of the ring videos, had access to and reviewed the surveillance from C.F. McCarthy's, had possession of all of the CD Sally Port driveway videos, and numerous other critical investigative activities. The reason they're saying all that is he had it all. He knew what truly happened. And yet, once evidence of Proctor's conflicts and lies became public, he was extricated from this case in an effort to hide him from the jury and sanitize the compromised investigation, while Miss Reed was forced to trial not once but twice. He knew it, and then guess what they did? Then the county and these fucking fucks, they knew it, and then they kept him out of trial too, and they're going to use that against them, and I love it because it's exactly what they did. That to me might be the best sentence I think of anything, is that they knew what they did. If he didn't do anything wrong, then why isn't he testifying? You know, why are you keeping him from the jury? I think these people should all fucking touch their toes, and we should all fucking play pin the dick on the donkey. Lana, that's inappropriate. These people make me sick. Absolutely ridiculous. Ultimately, Michael Proctor was relieved from duty and transferred out of the detectives unit of the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office on July 7, 2024, mere days after the conclusion of Miss Reed's first trial. Proctor was terminated from the MSP on March 19th, my birthday, 2025. 2025, upon a release from the district attorneys of more implicating text messages from Proctor's phone. On October 18th, 2025, Proctor officially ended his appeal with the Civil Service Commission. Check, check. Love it. On September 23rd, 2024, an MSP internal affairs investigation found Yuri Buchanan failed to perform his supervisory duties in an ongoing investigation. On July 7th, 2025, Buchanan was transferred out of the NDAO detective unit and reassigned to an administrative role in another division. Hey, you're going down. Hopefully you like prison, buddy. You little square head. On October 18th, 2024, Brian Tully was disciplined and reassigned from SPDU and stripped of his detective designation. Yep, he is no longer a detective. Tully was given special dispensation by the Norfolk County District Attorney Michael Morrissey to continue detective work, though, on the Reed case despite his demotion because of his behavior on this case. God, Jesus. This is insane. Upon information and belief, MSP troopers David DeChico and Jeffrey Korkowski were also disciplined for their misconduct associated with the MSP's investigation of Miss Reed. We'll find that out, though, if this goes to trial. Now, these are all the counts. We got count 1, which is malicious prosecution under the Fourth Amendment, and that's against Proctor, Buchanan, and Tully. We have count 2, which is supervisory liability against Buchanan, Tully in their individual capacity. We have count 3, which is conspiracy to deprive Miss Reed of her Fourth Amendment rights against Proctor, Buchanan, Tully, the Alberts, the McCabe's, and Higgins. We have count 4, which is Massachusetts Civil Rights Act, MCAR, against Proctor, Buchanan, Tully, Alberts, McCabe's, and Higgins. Then we have common law malicious prosecution against the same people. That was count 5. Count 6 is intentional infliction of emotional distress, which is going to get her absolutely sick money. And that, again, is against everybody. And then count 7 is civil conspiracy, which they can prove. They're going to get that against everybody. And I'm going to read you how basically they're saying how they're going to be able to prove it all. And so she's asking, it's a jury demand. Miss Reed respectfully requests a jury trial on all matters. And enter a judgment in her favor and against each relevant defendant on each count of this complaint. Award her damages in an amount to be calculated at trial, along with pre- and post-judgment interest, costs, and expenses. Award her reasonable attorney fees incurred in connection with this litigation pursuant to this. Grant her such other relief as the court deems equitable and just. So, 7 counts. Now, if I go back, though, I want to talk about this part right here. Okay. I'm going to talk about Proctor leads MSP investigation despite conflicts, okay? Because this is going to be a big part of it. Michael Proctor was assigned as the case officer and had primary responsibility for MSP's investigation of Mr. O'Keefe's death. Sergeant Yuri Buchanan was Proctor's direct supervisor. Lieutenant Brian Tully was the supervisory officer at the Norfolk County State Police Detectives Unit, and thus supervised both Buchanan and Proctor. In their roles, Buchanan and Tully both knew at all times exactly the extent of Proctor's misconduct in investigating Mr. O'Keefe's death as described below. So, from the beginning, Proctor should never have been assigned as the investigating officer, let alone the lead investigator. He grew up and resides in Canton, is good friends of the Alberts, and had known the family for years. Proctor and Julie Albert, Brian Albert's sister-in-law, had each other's personal cell phone numbers. In fact, just days before Mr. O'Keefe's death, Proctor communicated with Julie Albert about babysitting Proctor's minor child. Proctor's sister Courtney was also a close friend of Julie. In fact, Proctor's own mother referenced the Alberts as Proctor's second family. The existence of these relationships was intentionally suppressed by Proctor and other members of MSP, including Buchanan and Tully, in an effort to ensure that the House defendants were protected and that Miss Reed's right to a fair investigation and trial were undermined. Crazy. Proctor, Buchanan, Tully engaged in a corrupt and biased investigation by not investigating inside the House and interviewing House defendants as friends rather than suspects. Proctor, Buchanan, Tully, and the MSP never searched for DNA evidence inside the House, never looked for rigid surfaces that could have caused the gash on the back of Mr. O'Keefe's head, never inspected the House defendants' bodies for indications of bruises or cuts that resulted from an altercation, and did not search the House defendants' cell phones. This allowed potential evidence to be destroyed, disposed of, removed, or simply become unrecoverable. Proctor's, Buchanan's, and Tully's interviews of the House defendants were also outside of normal protocol. They were all interviewed either at their home, their family member's home, their lawyer's home, in the case of Brian Higgins, their lawyer's office in the case of Brian Jr. and Caitlin Albert, their place of employment, or over the phone. These interviews were all each untimely, unrecorded, and fundamentally designed to protect the House defendants, and the House defendants took full advantage of it. Specifically, Jennifer McCabe became the point person for the House defendants in providing their false narrative to investigators. She managed and communicated details about the House defendants' messaging and the investigation itself, including visiting Proctor's and other investigators' private residences, mapping out timelines to coordinate statements with other witnesses, leading group text message chains that were later partially deleted, and planning private meetings at all hours of the day and night. This house. Jennifer McCabe, come on down. You are gonna get shellacked. Girl. Oh, it should be up there. Oh, maybe in the back seat of the car or in my room. I don't know. Wherever you left it. Oh my goodness, Jennifer McCabe. What have you done, girl? What have you done? Well, you want to know, I love when Jennifer McCabe gets rowdy. Dude, she's probably, if I was these people, I would go on vacation and I would not come back. They are toast. Let's take a clip up from Jennifer McCabe here that I have when she wants to talk about all the stuff that they've been through and how they are just being, this is Jennifer McCabe. Them doing these interviews with ABC. Like, how stupid. How stupid, Jennifer. How stupid. So here you go.
Close to John O'Keefe and who are very familiar to us, they're speaking out on the verdict. The McCabe and Albert families spoke to ABC's Nightline, and you'll recall that Karen Reed dropped John O'Keefe off at the Albert's house for an after party. Their house was where the body was discovered in the snow, 34 Fairview. We heard it throughout the trial. Here's the homeowner, Brian Albert, who testified in the first trial, but not the second, explaining why he didn't go out in the cold to help John O'Keefe.
I was just woken up out of a cold sleep from hanging out the night before. By the time I came downstairs, the police were already in my house. John was already gone. There was nobody to save. I would have taken a bullet for John O'Keefe because he was a fellow cop. That's the most ridiculous question that people always ask. It made zero sense. What am I supposed to do? Run out front in my underwear and start running yellow tape around the fire hydrant?
Albert also said that their families have been failed by the criminal justice system. His wife said that people should think twice about testifying as witnesses because they got no protection in this case. They also said the defense could have easily gotten their DNA from their dog, Chloe, but they didn't ask. The Alberts say that despite the negative attention, they love the town of Canton and they don't plan to move away. Let's bring back in our guest, criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Joe Tamburino, to talk about this new development in terms of the Albert and McCabe family speaking out. What do you think about what Brian Albert said in terms of his explanation that many question why he never went outside during the attempt to save John O'Keefe's life on his lawn?
Well, I think what he's saying makes sense, and it should have been part of the second trial. There's no doubt about that. I mean, look, we learned two things, right, just from this statement, which easily could have been made in the second trial. Number one is that by the time he woke up after a night of drinking, the body was already gone. The police were already at the scene. Number two is he also said the police were in his house. So that's one of the first times that, we're hearing that the police actually went into his house. This would rebut a lot of what the defense said, that the police never cared about anything and never went into the house. But, this all brings up the greater point of what's going to happen to victims and victims' families in the future. Will they have to do a media campaign, just like, Ms. Reed did in her case? She did a fabulous media campaign. There's no doubt about it. Are you going to have to rebut that in the future by victim and victim families also doing such a campaign?
Wow. How do you think that's going to impact the way defense attorneys move forward in cases, especially in this area? Are they going to change up things in light of the Karen Reed retrial?
Yes.
Oh my
if
God.
you, and I've been a defense attorney now for 35 years, 34 years. And so what'll happen is if you have a client who's got the financial resources to do a PR campaign, sure, you're going to consider doing that because, think about it. This had such a groundswell. It was the first time that I've ever seen that you would have so much anti-police animosity in a very upper middle class, mostly white community outside of a major city, Boston. I've never seen that before. Yes, all the parties were white, the police were white, the alleged victims white, and obviously the defense.
It's because it's so egregious, you stupid fuck. I can't believe that this broad would ever have this man on her show again. You stupid entitled white fuck. That's what I say to you.
But I've never seen that before. So,
That's because it's so egregious. Where's white, black shit? Come on, man.
I think that's all due to social media and
It's all due to corruption.
a good PR campaign by the defendant.
All right, Joe Tamburino, stand by. We are going to, of course, continue to follow anything that develops post-verdict for the Karen Reed trial. First, we're following new developments.
All right, guys. What a mess. What a bunch of idiots. That guy just needs to never speak again. What a moron. He doesn't know anything about the case. Anyways, we're going to keep it right here. Thank you guys so much. Come back and join me tomorrow. We're going to do the second half of the Karen Reed, breaking down Karen Reed's civil lawsuit. Karen Reed coming for that ass, all of them, platter time. Let's eat. Karen Reed, she wants money, of course. Give me my money. But more importantly, she wants to be a witness at all of these people's criminal trial. She wants all of them to go down for the murder of her, well, back then her boyfriend, but for John O'Keefe. And she wants to, I think, completely and fully clear her name. Cuff these motherfuckers. So go get it, Karen. We're here for it. We support you. Do it, girl. See you on the next one. Thank you, moderators, new members, subscribers, lurkers. Karen.